instead of the other one. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's reading of Dane Peterson's new play, Primogeniture. My name is Michael Flowers, and on behalf of everyone involved in tonight's production, we are so happy that you are a part of the first public reading of Dane's play. Over the past 2 years, Dane has been working towards his Master of Fine Arts degree in Interdisciplinary Arts at Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont. As his studies evolved, he began exploring playwriting, shifting from a practice of interpreting others' work to one of creating stories for others to interpret. Tonight's play, written over the past 5 months, is integral to his performance creation concentration degree requirements. As our cast makes their way to the stage, we want to take a moment to say a special thank you to Bob McKenna for allowing us to use this beautiful space for the reading. Thank you, Bob. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Pat Flowers, who will be reading the stage directions this evening. Stephen Mangina, who will be playing the role of Son. And Alan Litzy, who will be playing the roles of Pops and Doc. Immediately following the reading, we will take a 10-minute break, after which you are welcome to stay and be a part of the conversation about tonight's experience. Once again, thank you so much for being here. It's our pleasure now to share with you Dane Peterson's new play, Primogeniture.
Primogeniture by Dane Peterson. If we do not grieve what we miss, we are not praising what we love. We are not praising the life we have been given in order to love. If we do not praise whom we miss, we are ourselves in some way dead. So grief and praise make us alive. Martine Pretchell, The Smell of Rain on Dust, Grief and Praise. Scene, circa 1977, December. A father and his son sit at a kitchen table. Daylight dims outside as a cold winter's night takes hold. In the normally bustling, lively, and often raucous southern home, today there is a silence in the house, and between the two. Something has occurred, but what it is isn't apparent. The father, holding and studying a physical photograph, puts it on the tabletop as he gets up to grab 2 long necks from the refrigerator. The son eyes the photograph but doesn't touch it. Pops returns to sit with the beers and a bottle opener. He pries the cap off his bottle of beer, leaving the other bottle capped. Pops takes a swig of beer and then...
Go ahead. Take a real good look at that photo. Yeah, take it. Pick it up with your hands. Hold it close to your face. Get a good look.
The son picks up the photo, handling it with great reverence, as if it were the Hope Diamond, sensing it has worth.
You know, a person like you, for example, born after the turn of the millennium, they may not even recognize something like that, not even know what it is, because it's tangible. You see, piece of paper you can touch, not something you look at on a computer or a phone screen. A photograph is real. It's an analog capture of an actual moment from the past. No photoshopping going on there. Just an amateur, run-of-the-mill person playing photographer, snapping pictures, trying to snap a gentle scene at home to remember the good times.
He takes a drink, slides the unopened bottle closer to the sun.
You gonna open that? Make me drink by myself.
Yeah. Sure, Pops.
The son puts the photograph on the table and follows the direction to imbibe by struggling to pry the cap off the bottle. Pops watches his son take a sip, perhaps their first shared beer ever.
Now this just might blow your 2023 mind. That piece of paper started out as some silver, you know? The element on the periodic table, AG, started out as some silver, put into a roll of Kodak film, I'm guessing most likely 35 millimeter, nothing digital about that film.
Son's got something on his mind, and it's not Pop's photograph. Pops takes the photograph back, looking at it, trying to remember what the scene presents within. No love.
Nope. Time has not been altogether kind to it, has it? Oh, sure. Somebody at some point decided to be smart to put it in a photo album, probably also something that a Gen Zer would know about. But damn, somebody thought to put it in an album, maybe a picture frame, maybe just in between the pages of a book, you know, for safekeeping years ago. A prized treasure of a simpler time, and even with all that concern to keep the memory emblazoned there on that film, to keep it like it was taken just yesterday. Time didn't get the memo. Time let it get all faded, making those earth tone colors of the 70s even more sepia than they were in real life. I mean, who the hell thought a rust orange shag carpet in the GD crapper was a good idea?
Giving the photo back to the son.
You ever wonder if folks, I mean average people, not those scientific whiz kids that can remember a book word for word just by picking it up on the shelf. I mean people like you and me. If we could really hang on to images of people of our past in our lives, or if we only remember what the photographs tell us to remember.
Looking deep into his son's eyes.
Now, you look at that picture. Look at it hard.
Son complies.
You probably think it's all hunky-dory in there, isn't it? But if you don't have a clue about the folks in there that are looking back at you, I mean, well, you might use your deductive reasoning and come up with a story and try to fill in some blanks, you know? Try to figure out what's going on in there. Go ahead, take a look in there, fill in some blanks, come up with a story. Tell me what you see.
Well, awesome. I see two people. One of them is young, maybe 2 or 3, I guess. Maybe he's the son, and the man is the father.
Looking at the child in the photo.
Boy's in the bathtub, reminds me of getting ready for bed. Looks happy. His face is bright, a huge smile, his eyes are brown and full of energy, he's got a mop of reddish hair.
Shifting focus to look at the man.
The man, the father, I'm guessing, he's crouched down on the floor on his knees next to the tub. He's got dress slacks with a sheen like polyester and a short sleeve dress shirt. He's got dark hair with mutton chop sideburns. His face is round, sort of puffy, flushed red. He looks super proud and joyful. Like he's cherishing this moment so damn hard and never wants it to end. There's a love that's palpable. feel it, looking at it. The radiating light, looks as if they're the only two people of any worth on the planet as the camera captures that millisecond reality.
He looks to Pop. Perhaps, like in the photograph, he doesn't want this moment to end.
If I'd been old enough to remember that time, I think, well, that's what I would want. What I want to not just remember because of that photo, but to have that memory live in my heart, to keep it with me, in my soul as long as I got air to breathe. But the time, those days, wasn't exactly Christina's, from what I know now.
Swigs his beard.
Yep, I guess that photograph works just like our minds work, huh? Only shows one side of the situation, only the memories we want to see, the ones in focus, centered in the frame, and hides away the ones too sad to remember.
Scene, Session 1, January. We are in a small dimly lit room. There is a white noise sound machine diffusing the air. Through the window blinds outside, heavy rain can be seen falling. Two chairs face each other with a small table between them. Son sits in one, Doc in the other. The atmosphere is comfortable but sterile, not like home.
He's talking. For the first time in my life, he's talking to me. And I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's me who wants to talk right now, but he's talking. The quiet monolith is cracked after all these years.
You're poetic today. God.
Emotions were raw. It had been a long day. We were alone in the house, and it felt right. You know? It was time. So finally, after holding it in for so long, I'm ready to talk. I'm feeling comfortable enough with myself to be able to talk to him and let him in my life. And out of nowhere, he wants to talk. Fuck. That's not the way it was supposed to be. I mean, that's not how I planned it, not how I imagined it.
And that makes you angry.
Yeah, it does. Or it doesn't. I don't know what it makes me, okay? I don't know. He's opening up his heart to me, this man who's never said a meaningful word in his life, and now all this stuff just flowing out of him. I don't know where it's coming from. It's like he's living in the past all of a sudden, and here I am trying to live in the present and thinking about the future, my future, trying to make a life for myself, wanting to share my life with my pops, and he's living in the past, in an idea of the past, fixated on some photograph and the people that are in it, fixated on some false memory of what was going on in that photograph, and what was actually going on in that photograph, and what was never happening in that photograph.
Scene, Plasticville, USA, February. Pops and Son are sitting on the front porch steps. They've just finished some sort of work on the house, on the car, or perhaps in the yard, and are cleaning their hands with shop towels. Pops has been rather rattled all day. That energy remains present in his demeanor. He is clearly in need of saying something, as he starts and stops himself several times before deciding to speak. Son is acutely aware, finding some humor in the situation.
You ever seen that box up under the stairs in the basement?
Yeah. But when I asked you about it, you told me it was none of your damn business.
Suppose I did. I guess sometimes it's easier to hide things away deep down in the dark basement than talk about them. You know? Because talking about them makes you think, makes you wonder about all the things that might have been, the things that weren't, things you long for didn't happen.
Why are you bringing it up now?
Well, because I I guess it's been on my mind. I guess I'd like you to know what's in there in those boxes.
Pops, if it's something you really want to do,
The items in there, carefully and reverently packed away for decades now, not unlike the mausoleum. Those boxes make up a sort of representation of an American dream, maybe more specifically the dreams of my dad, his dad, your grandfather, and great-grandfather. The dream that lived in the form of O-gauge Lionel trains, not just the locomotives and boxcars and passenger Pullmans and cabooses, coal tenders and free rail track and transformers, but the whole damn idealistic town, Plasticville, USA.
I never knew. How long have you been keeping all those boxes packed away?
Too fucking long? Well, that's for sure. Maybe since I was 10, I don't recall the exact moment they became mine. The moment of transference. I do remember that when I did get them, I knew I had something special. Something to hold on to forever. Until I didn't. Until I didn't think that so much anymore.
What happened?
You're getting ahead of my thoughts. You're always rushing me. So let's not act like this is one of those press conferences outside the Mar-a-Lago, all right? We got time. I don't want to rush our time. So save your questions till the end when I open the floor. You see, these trains were not toy trains. They were not for everyday kind of enjoyment. They weren't meant to be a hobby or something that a father and son did together, something to connect, a means of showing love and sharing wisdom. No, these trains served another purpose. They tightly held some sense of fear and majesty, power, I guess. Only making an appearance late at night each Christmas Eve in the 40s and 50s, setting up the whole goddamn town around the tree so it'd be there the next morning as if by magic. Maybe it was Santa magic, maybe little baby Jesus magic, who the fuck knows? Post-war, baby boom kind of shit mentality, the old man working so hard to perfect his American dream that the illusion became too much to handle, it was unobtainable. Nobody told him that part of the story. Oh, that crap can mess with a person. It can mess with the DNA to come. I don't know, but my northern grandfather was an altogether nice man, at least not when it came to his son. I've seen pictures of him. He looked stern, all business. I never got to meet the man. Died of a heart attack on a golf course long before I was even thought about. I wondered what he would think of me if we somehow met in the here and now. Well, I've got ideas. He must have been good to his daughters, his older two children of the family. To them, that man could do no wrong. He doted on them like they were his royal princesses. But from what I could tell, he was a real asshole to his one and only son. Pulling shit like buying up all these Lionel trains only to bring them out once a year for a magical Christmas morning and then pack them up in the original boxes and hide them away for the next 364 years. That's some sadistic bullshit if you ask me. I mean, he was so concerned with appearances and his strict disciplinary crap that he left my dad in the dust to suffer and languish on the inside. I suspect my dad must have been sort of like that dust that collects on mirrors, you know? Develop a kind of film that lets you see just enough to check yourself. Create in a filter so you can't get a fully clear image of the surreal situation, and all perfect on the outside, wasted away on the inside. Yeah, Dad couldn't ever seem to live up to the high standards that were in place long before he was born. The poor man never had a chance, never could make his father happy, always searching for the how, but never winning.
So how did you end up getting the trains and plastic bill? I mean, your dad, my granddad, whatever I would call him, has been dead almost a decade by the time they were born.
Funny you should say it. Well, I've never known what to call him either. Sometimes I refer to him as my dad, other times as simply my father, and in certain situations I just call him by his first name. Never really had a use for the social skills training on that topic. I don't even remember what he sounded like. His voice when he talked.
The train spot.
Oh, all right. Must have been somewhere around 1983. A campaign was begun to get the trains out of my grandmother's basement in Cincinnati, down to me in Birmingham, and somehow over the ensuing years, ensuing, how's that? How about that for a $50 SAT work? Well, Granny's sentimentality weekend, she let go her hold over them, but instead of the boxes being loaded on a CSX Chessie freight train, which would have been appropriate, and sent down south, they were loaded on the back of an uncle's Plymouth. Maybe it was a Dodge, blue hatchback Duster, or Horizon. Well, that probably didn't have any seatbelts. Made their way down I-65 one hot summer's day. These things hadn't been touched in years, original boxes and all. They had a smell about them, you know, a mixture of that smell of electricity, motor oil, musty cardboard. Oh, I was in heaven. And at the age of maybe 10, 11, I had an entire room in my house devoted to my trades, my father's trades. My mechanical mind was in overdrive, configuring the tracks and replacing the lamps that illuminated the headlights and the engines, popping little smoke tablets in the steam engine stack, hooking up the motorized crossing gates and pumping oil derricks and deciding where the residents of Plasticville would shop and live. A couple years later, we had to unexpectedly move, and the new place didn't have room for the train to pack them up, and away they went into storage under the stairs in the dark basement of my other grandparents' house, and that was almost 35 years ago. Isn't it? From under the stairs of a house in Cincinnati to under the stairs of a house in Birmingham. Once I got out of college, I bought a place of my own. Their location changed again, but the view remained the same, hidden under my basement stairs. So,
I guess they continue to be some lost representation of a post-war American dream.
people are curious about their things and the memories attached to those inanimate objects that we hoard and pass down. Maybe thinking they'll provide some sort of tangible reminder of those that lived in the past, those that might come in the future. What do I know? However, what I do know is those trains have a recurring history, almost a habit, maybe a rut. They carry, representing on the outside the wholesome American spirit, experience of our cherished Hallmark cards and Rockwell paintings tell us to be true, that father and son bonding, laughing, just spending time working on the model railroad, when in fact, lots of time, it was all for show, superficial, nothing of substance. My father and I had similar experiences with those trains. The absence of a father.
You ever want to open those boxes again? See what is real about them instead of a memory?
Over the years, I came to both treasure and resent those machines in that juxtaposition, I decided to leave them hidden away. They gave me great joy in my childhood, and then as an adult, they gave me great pain, being the only inheritance my grandmother left me. Symbol of being disowned after years of misplaced anger and sadness. Well, maybe one day we'll set them up, see if they do anything.
Awesome. You play trains?
Scene, Session 2, March. We are back in the small, dimly lit room with the white noise sound machine diffusing the air. Afternoon sunlight seeps through the wood blinds. 2 chairs face each other with a small table between. Son sits in one, Doc in the other.
It's like somehow he all of a sudden reverted back to his childhood or some sort of lost childhood. Does that make sense? I mean, he was talking about some trains, model trains, toy trains, Lionel trains. And it turns out that these things have held some bane of both joy and grief, all wrapped into one. And for the first time, he's sharing that. He's kept it all boxed up, compartmentalized, I think you people like to call it. And for some reason, he's now unpacking it. And he's just putting it all out there for me to see. It's like these antique toy trains represent a time of artifice in his life. What was it? And on the other hand, it's like they represent a time of artifice in our relationship, too. I mean, fuck. I never knew about the damn things until now, and yet he's remembering them with some fondness and acting as if I should have the same fondness around them, when I didn't even know the things existed.
I'm hearing a longing for a relationship, is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Perhaps for you, a relationship with your father around what are now antique trains, while he's longing for a relationship with his father around what were then new trains.
I mean, as a kid, you want to idolize your father. And you want him to idolize you. He couldn't allow us that relationship, though. He was always so closed off. He was hiding things in the back of his mind. He never let me in, not once. Until now. Now we're almost beyond repair.
Doc writes a note.
I didn't mean to say it like that. Not really. I don't think I did. It's just what came out.
You're self-editing. It's okay to express those feelings here. I'm not judging you, I'm just listening to you.
You say that a lot.
But maybe you need to hear it a lot. Maybe you need to be reminded it's okay to have some anger, some regret, that it's okay to grieve what's lost.
It's just, as he's talking about missed opportunities and an absence of a relationship with his father, my eyes are open to the fact that he's been closed off to me just the same. He's held his cards so close to the chest and afraid to play any of them. Not one card, and I, therefore, have been afraid to play cards from my stack. Not knowing if it'd be received well, or if I chose the right card to play. The desire to satisfy both my needs and his needs at the same time, and well, it's kind of fucked up. To be so on the outside, and to be so aware of my pop's needs to make his dead father happy, but that I can't seem to make him happy. He's shut it down all these years, and now it's like he's trying to make up for some lost time, like he's learned from the mistakes and the torment. But I'm not sure he's really ready, or fuck if I'm ready, for me to offer up my truth, and I'm not sure how he'll receive it.
I'm hearing a lot of anxiety. Some fears of having shared a sense of false reality or identity, of knowing the person your grandfather projected to be, the person your father is projected to be and the person you're trying to be. And potentially some trauma along the way that's clouded your sense of who you really are. Maybe clouded your openness to accepting the person you really are.
Yeah. Thanks. It's hard to navigate. Fucking hard.
Scene, the heirloom, April. On the water's edge, Pops and Son are fishing. This is Pops' happy place, and his demeanor reflects as such. He is different today. He seems more alive and open. Pops casts his line and sets his fishing rod in a contraption he's devised to hold it in place, freeing his hands. He sits in a folding camp chair. Son remains standing, casting his line out and in several times until he feels satisfied. The father has his gaze on his hands, in particular a ring on his right index finger. He looks at Son and nudges him.
You ain't about to catch anything casting like that. Pull your line back in. I want to correct the bait situation you got going on there.
Son reels his line back in and hands the rod over to Pops. As Pops takes off the store-bought fly and replaces it one of his own making.
You know, I've never been much of a ring person.
Giving the newly baited rod back to Son.
Never really even wore my wedding band. Oh, get your mother fired up to this day. I always wore this one here out of habit, I guess. Do me a favor. I'm going to take this ring off my finger here. I want you to put it on your finger. Just to try it on.
Son casts his newly baited line.
Sure. I guess. I mean, I don't see why not.
Pops works to take the ring off his finger, twisting it back and forth over his knuckle, leaving the shape of the ring indented in his skin. He looks at the ring held tight between his left index finger and thumb and his now empty right index finger. He hasn't taken it off in years.
Pops, I was sort of hoping to talk to you about something today, something personal.
Pop stands. Locking eyes with his son, he holds the ring out to him. It has the sense of passing a weight. Son takes the cue and pulls his line in, placing the rod on the ground.
Now, I just want you to slide this ring on your finger there and you just sort of look at it for a spell. You know, just wear it. Sit with it here, see what you feel, what it feels like to wear it. Maybe there's something that feels good about it. Maybe you don't feel so good.
As he hands the ring over, the two are connected physically by the ring. Pops leaves the ring with Son.
I'll be damned. My hand hadn't felt this naked in years.
Son waits for a moment, not entirely sure what is happening. He looks at the ring. He's seen it before, but never with such intimacy.
All right, then. Well, it's a gold ring, obviously. It's not new, but also not that old. It has a stone, sort of like a mood ring, but it's different. Not a cheap gumball machine prize. Color's not quite sky blue, not quite a Wedgwood blue, sort of in between, I guess. And stone, well, it looks solid inside. But then you turn it some, and it has cracks, lines beneath the surface that appear in the light.
Son begins to hand the ring back to Pops.
You're gonna put it on or just size it up like they do down at the pawn shop?
Son slides the ring on his right index finger.
So,
First off, I can say that the ring isn't exactly tight on my finger. In fact, it's a little loose. whoever wore this first, I mean, I'm guessing it wasn't you by the looks of it. Their fingers were a little bit thicker, bigger than mine. Not by much though. I'm feeling that it's a little cumbersome. I mean, it's kind of clunky on my finger. It's not like a slim wedding band, you know. It's got some size to it. It doesn't have a lot of heaviness, you know. It's comfortable. Not like what I'd expect one of those national championship rings might feel like. Something that might hold you down. It's not something that makes your hand heavy, you know.
Looks to Pops, who just looks back. With a focus back to the ring, there is a moment of real discovery.
I gotta tell you, I feel like some ambivalence about it, to be honest. I mean, it's obviously not new, so somebody wore it at some point for the very first time, when it was new. I mean, it was somebody's ring at one time, you know? I'm wearing somebody else's ring right now that proves the hidden history of the relic. I don't know if I feel good or bad about it, if it's comfortable or uncomfortable. I just feel like it might be sharing some sort of energy with me, but I'm not quite sure what that energy wants to say or how I should receive it. It's almost got a vibrancy to it, even though I don't know a lot about it.
Why don't you just take it off, get a better look?
Son carefully inspects it, as if he were an insurance appraiser.
So I've taken it off,
Look to Pops, playing the dutiful son.
taking a look at it. Bottom of it's a little misshaped, like it was banged on the floor or something. I'm not sure if it's because it's a soft metal or if something happened to give it that irregular shape at the bottom. There's some small scratches here, but I'm not sure what the scratches mean or how they got there, what kind of stories they hold. Scratches, it's secrets. Nobody knows nothing. They don't know what they are, except for the scratches. They know they ain't talking. I mean, even if I had this ring my whole life, those scratches happen while on my watch. I mean, what I can tell you is that I wouldn't know how each and every single one of them got there, even if I was even aware when it happened. The scratches almost represent sections of a person's life, you know, like things happen over time. Things happen with this ring. I'm wondering about all those somethings that happen, all those things inside and all the things on the outside it has no control over that cause the scratches. See, it's 14 karat, that's telling me. 58% pure.
Putting the ring on his right middle finger, exploring how it feels there.
Yeah, this just doesn't feel right on this finger.
Moving it to other fingers, exploring each. He decides to try his left hand, starting with the left index finger.
This fit feels all right.
Moving it along to his other left fingers, ending at his ring finger.
Something,
He looks deeply at it on his ring finger and feels all that society places on that symbol of marriage. He takes it off, puts it back on his right index finger.
no, for some reason the right hand, right here on this finger, that's where it feels most healthy. I don't know if it's because of the person. I mean, I don't know, maybe the ring. I mean, are rings specifically made for right fingers or left fingers? You know, I mean, are they specifically made for the right hand or the left? Or are they made for a specific finger or for whatever finger fits? Things they don't teach you in college. I guess however you size it is where it's how you wear it. Up to the person, right? It'd be interesting to know if the ring was worn on the right hand or the left hand of the person who first wore it. I wonder if it was the right hand or the left.
Taking it off again.
It'd be something to ask that person some questions, you know? Like, where do you get it? Why did you like it? Was it a treasured possession of yours? Did you wear it all the time or just for a special occasion? Yeah. I don't know. can look into the side of it and almost see myself looking back at me. Like a little funhouse mirror distorting reality, or almost can make out a vision of me, but not quite. But I'm just feeling some ambivalence. I don't know. I can't let go of that first person and wonder which hand or which finger he wore it on and why. It's like the ring is whispering things to me, but it's so faint I can't find words. And now all these questions come about the person who bought it years ago. And that makes me wonder why they bought it. What about them made them like this ring? What did they feel putting it on for the first time? What did they see looking into that blue stone? I wonder where they bought it and when, and if it was important to them, why'd they give it up? Did they give it up? Or did it give up on him? Yeah, I'm feeling some weird energy when I say that. You know? Makes me almost feel like the first person who owned this ring is here somehow. Look into the side of the ring here, into the gold, worn down shine, and now I'm making out a different face, not mine. A familiar face on the side of it looking back at me. There's some suffering in there, in that face. That's what I feel wearing it. Here.
No,
Begins to hand the ring back to Pops.
no, you can't. Truth be told, I don't have a lot of answers to your questions. I don't really know much about it other than a few basic facts.
He cast his line into the water, a place where he can find peace.
I know it was my father's. I know that I got it handed down to me maybe 20 years ago. Almost like it had been shut away in the safety deposit box all those years between when he died and when I got it.
A tug on the line.
Almost got a bite there. I feel what his fingers must have felt like when I slipped it on my knuckle or wear it on my finger. I don't know how he got it or when he got it, where he got it, why he got it, how much he paid for it, or if it's worth anything now in terms of monetary. What it's worth. It's real worth it. What it holds is the connection I lost. Connection we lost, that connection between father and son. Giving a son a glimpse of the physicality of his father. The man they never really knew. He didn't have any memory of other than some photographs. At least I have some sort of connection to the man through that piece of metal and stone. And instead of secreted away in a safety deposit vault at the guts of some highfalutin bank building, well, I can wear it. You can wear it. Like he must have. Yeah, I know he had some demons, lots of them. He loved me. And I can feel it in that ring. And when you wear it, you can feel it too.
Scene, Session 3, May. We are back in the small dimly lit room with the white noise sound machine diffusing the air. This time, bright morning light is no match for the wooden lines. Two chairs face each other with a small table between them. Son sits in one, Doc in the other.
Give me a ring.
Okay.
No, you're not listening. He gave me his ring. This ring.
Showing his hand to Doc.
The ring that once belonged to my grandfather. It's like he's getting ready to die or something, and he's giving all his shit away.
This behavior upsets you? Why?
What?
You're feeling something. What?
It's the same thing he asked. What did I feel? I felt scared. I felt uneasy, out of control. We were fishing. I hate fishing. And he starts in on this ring, and to him, whatever reason, at that moment, it was important. I can't shake that. Lately, every time we're together, it's like listening in on a confessional session or something. Some screen between us. Mostly one-sided conversation. Well, that was the most he let me talk in months. Do you have any idea what that's like?
I think I can imagine.
So there we are, he in his happy place, me utterly miserable. And now I'm expected to talk. The invitation, more like a directive, comes with a condition. I can only talk about this ring, nothing else. I want to be able to talk to him without his rules, you know? I want to be able to tell him about this guy that I've been seeing, and that we're getting serious, and that I think I'm in love for the first time. Well, Pops, he's not giving me any ear.
Maybe you need to make your. Listen to the cues. Let the moment be the guide. Your pop seems like he's willing to receive, but and here's the rub. Only when you're ready to give.
Son looks at the ring on his finger.
I'm going to use this ring in my wedding.
Scene. Suffixes. June. As with most southern homes, the back deck serves as an appendage to the family room or kitchen for those times when the AC just can't keep up with the heat and folks retreat outside to sit with a ubiquitous, oscillating fan. Pops has escaped the stale, hot inside air for his cushioned glider. Another chair is nearby, but is not nearly the Cadillac model like Pop's. It's a Father's Day.
Want anything from the refrigerator? Something to cool you off?
I don't know. Maybe one of your fancy bottled water drinks.
It's awfully hot today, especially for this time of year. You sure you don't want something a little stronger? Sort of been a hard day.
Nope, water will do.
All right, Pops.
We hear the sound of an aluminum can prying open, followed by a bottle cap flying. The son enters the deck from a screen door, joining Pops.
I know you think I'm a little pretentious, having a canned seltzer water with some sort of fake taste in it.
Handing Pops a can.
They call it essence of flavor.
Son settles sitting next to Pops, taking a sip of the beer he brought for himself. Pops watches with a knowing and fatherly gaze. Something is on Pops' mind. In fact, a lot has been on his mind lately. He looks at his son.
You ever heard of something called hepatic failure?
Takes a sip of water.
That's one of the reasons I don't drink too much these days. Hepatic failure.
Son adjusts his posture, feeling a sermon is about to erupt.
Now don't get me wrong. I used to like my beer, my dark liquors in the winter, clear ones in the summer. You know, after a while you just sort of figure you either gotta get into it or get out of it. You gotta make a decision if you want to continue on down the road of pissing people off, pissing yourself off, being unhappy all the time, bathing in alcohol, or you can decide to give it up, save yourself some money, save you some hepatic failure.
Takes a sip of water.
I'm not sure where you're going with this. I've seen you drink before. Heck, you were raised Catholic. You're not like you're some Southern Baptist teetotaler.
May 30th, 1978, estimated about 2:30 p.m., pronounced at 4:38 p.m., that was a Tuesday.
Takes a sip of water.
You gotta be pretty fucked up to be drinking so damn hard that you're at home on a Tuesday afternoon, you end up dead on your bathroom floor. But that's apparently what happened, and it finally happened according to the death certificate at least.
You okay, Pops? You don't seem like yourself today. You haven't seemed like yourself in a while now.
Sometimes people do things that piss you off. Now, they may do it on purpose. They may not even know they're doing it. Hell, they may not even know when I piss you off. But that does not negate the fact that somebody is going to get pissed off somewhere because of something you did. And I want you to know that, well, I've been really pissed off lately. It's not you. Because it's somebody I don't even know. Somebody I never got the chance to know. And that's why I'm pissed. Pissed because I missed so much, so many opportunities, so many rites of passage that other sons had. I never got to learn how to shave with him. I never got to learn how to cut the grass from him. He never taught me how to perfect a Windsor knot. Never heard me sing, "Oh, Holy Night" and Christmas Eve. Never got to meet you.
Takes a sip of water.
Pops, you sure you want to talk about this?
Yeah!
Pop stands, exits through the screen door to the kitchen, leaving Son alone. The air is heavy. We hear the refrigerator open and some clanking of bottles from within, calling out to Son,
Need anything?
No. I'm good.
pouring his beer, letting it seep away through the deck boards into the ground below. The sound of the refrigerator closes as a bottle cap is released.
Found some papers the other day. Trying to find a damn passport.
Enters from the screen door with a beer in hand.
You know, I never had a passport. Never been out of the country except to Canada. Now, I'm not sure if that even counts. That was way back before all the 9/11 stuff happened, so they didn't take border process quite as serious. You're able to get through with just a birth certificate or government ID kind of situation. I got to think of one of these days I might like to go to Europe, someplace like that. In my deepest soul secret, I really like to head way up there and see the northern lights one of these days. Experience the mystery, magic, all that stuff way up there, and see what all that stuff's trying to tell us, how it's trying to help us figure things out. If we'd only listen to it.
I think that'd be real nice, Pops. Maybe one day we could do that. Together, you know, just decide to take off. Go and see what those lights are saying. Some Jack Kerouac kind of shit. Maybe they'll fill in some blanks. Some blanks that circumstances sort of seem to hold you back, you know? Some of those things that need answering, and maybe the only place to find those answers might be looking at those lights.
Taking a swig of beer, Pops moves to sit again in his glider. After a beat, as if needing some sort of absolution,
There's some kind of inconsistencies going on here. Legalities. Ain't that typical bureaucratic bullshit? You expect that the courts will get things right, you know? I'm talking about accuracy. So I was looking through all these yellow papers, you know, for my passport application to prove I really am who I say I am. And I found some photographs of some certificates that relate to me, some criminal probate court documents and crap. So, relate to you. And in these papers there are discrepancies. I've noted discrepancies about a name. You see, in some of these papers, like for example the discharge papers that list my father's name after he had served in the Coast Guard, where they list him as being a junior, as if his father, my grandfather, your great-grandfather, is senior, right? Therefore, he must be a junior. But then you go over to the marriage certificate that lists him and my mom, your grandma, and I'll be damned if that certificate's got listed 3 capital I's behind his name, meaning he was the third. You follow? So, which one's right? Was he a junior or was he a
Does
third?
it really matter, Pops? I mean, I guess it's kind of important in some archaic hierarchy ritual, but that was a long time ago, and I'm not even sure if it really makes any difference now. I mean, I don't know if it affects anything, or makes anything change, or makes you or me somehow not who we thought we were or are.
And then you go over to the copy of his death certificate. And
And on that piece of paper, it doesn't list any type of suffix on it at all. It's just his first name, his middle initial, and his last name. All senior, or junior, or third, all of that lineage kind of shit that we're told to value and put behind our names, well, that's all washed away, it's all cleared up. Made nice and tidy without any recognition that that person might have been somebody's son, or that person might have been somebody's father, like those kind of markers do in polite society. All of that seemed important on the whole document, is that the big old numbers at the top, a registration number 3101. Maybe behind my name, it should be 3102.
Guess that makes me 3103. I know it hurts. I know you have so many unanswered questions. Pops, we get to sit here and talk and laugh and cry and share. And I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really sorry you didn't get to do that with your pop.
I just like to know. To hear from him in his voice. That it wasn't me. His drinking wasn't my fault. But don't get me wrong, I know that. I know it wasn't my fault. I know he had a horrible disease take control of him, take complete control of him so much at one, he couldn't handle it, the pressure, never being able to live up to his father's strict and unattainable ideals. Failed case of American primogeniture. Sort of a slow progression of getting lost and trying to fulfill a sense of happiness and losing himself in the alcohol, unable to keep up with the demands of a fictitious world. You know what the damnedest thing is? I miss somebody I don't even know. Every damn holiday, every firsts, every birthday. Isn't somebody I don't even remember. And I just keep looking for him. Every now and then I think I see him. When I glance in the mirror at myself. When I look into your eyes.
Thanks, Mom.
For what?
This.
Pops pours out his beer, which he has hardly touched. Both watch it disappear through the deck boards to seep into the ground.
In that tree, Cardinal just showed up. Stopping by to check in, say hello. Let us know he's still watching.
As lights slowly dim on the scene, creating a silhouette effect,
Pops, I'd like to tell you about somebody I've been seeing.
end of play.
In about 10 minutes, everybody grab a refreshment, and if you're able to stay, we would love to have a conversation with you. Thank you. one of my resources. It's a book that I have read this summer, and it's a great book if you find it around Amazon. It's really powerful.
Yes.
In the process, did you decide to
I think when with Michael and Pat, we were talking, and I thought that I might want to include some imagery there to help reinforce. But I think we also didn't want to show it at the beginning. We wanted you to visualize for yourself and
Yes.
And like the photo of the ring was taken, I've had huge support from my family in Indian Springs. So that was on Indian Springs Lake. I was in my kayak and I was telling that story in my phone, recording it, and that picture was from that day in March.
Yes.
I would say that we've made a pretty good practice of that. I thought the reviews were great, and basically all that process and all there wasn't a lasting effect.
It was the image of the paperwork. The paperwork, all the
The documents.
Okay, okay. Sorry.
Yes.
So for Dane, I want to know where you go from here, not necessarily with this piece, because I know you've already talked about it, but now that you've done all this research, this work, this personal work, like what's next for you just in your career journey?
The journey for this process goes a week and a half for my last residency in grad school. So I'll go to Vermont the last week of July. And I'll begin the thesis writing proper. So I've got a critical response essay, which is going to incorporate the 5 gates of grief, which Francis Weller talks about, another great resource, and the Crutchell book, and the Bittersweet Susan King book, and shamanic tradition and rituals from based in time, and talking about how grief includes ancestral, it includes environmental, ecological, social, political, all these things that it's not just one type of grief, right? And then exploring where those pop up in different plays that I have found. So from Next to Normal to a lot of Beth Henley plays, Sam Shepard, Eugene O'Neill, Tennessee Williams, and then delving into at that point how it morphed into creating a play using all of this information. So that takes me through to finish the work around Thanksgiving. And then I'll have an expensive piece of paper on my wall.
But how will all of this that you've learned,
Yeah.
that research, affect your work beyond the graduation day?
I think that so far in my work in high school with those young actors and creative people in the classroom and in rehearsals, I have become a more grounded person. I'm much less easy to fly off the rail. What? No more. And I take time. And I try not to let product be the value of it. The process of getting to the product is the value of it. And the journey is going to be different for everyone. So continuing to develop that and share that with other theater directors and other creative folks. So hopefully we can dialogue and change the models, the mid-1900 authoritative director types. You go here, 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 and be more open and collaborative and understanding of the process, as opposed to just focusing on that opening night.
You know, I know that Pat and Michael were your teachers, right? And Dave and I sat in on a classroom thing, God, years ago with Michael. But what a gift to see him grow, and a gift for you to have him on this journey with you. I mean, it's just, and you probably did along the way too now, right? Around there, I mean, you were there at school too, right? I don't know if you were teaching when Dave was at something, but it's just, and see, you know, looking at you right now, just, I want to.
Yes.
Okay, when it started, as has been said, it was very good. I really enjoyed it, and I went somewhere else because I recently saw a movie with Morgan Freeman dealing with trains, and he had a quote at the beginning, and it was dealing with some grief and some death. Spoiler alert, but I like that flow, that connection, and just the whole idea of trains. And he had one in the basement on a big table, and it was delightful. And as Les said, with the quote at the beginning, it was read, and as I read it and it went down, it was a lot of listening. I mean, to see it back here, it hit home. And it shows how universal we know that death and grief are. And you can't get away from it. And I think you said it's about just dealing with it and talking about it and knowing that it's part of the process, part of the circle of life that we have to go through.
I think I saw a hand over here somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I'm a random question. So I know you came at this project from a really writing process, and the goal was very different from any kind of theater you normally would have taken on this job, and like normally as a director. But I'm curious, if the director piece of you stayed completely out in your process, or if as you were writing it, and if the director piece of you didn't come into that process, I'm curious, if you were reading your work as a director, what would you have been involved in?
Staging did not come into play. I think Michael once said it seems more like a movie screenplay more than a stage play because of the locations. So I pretty much stayed away from the directing act. And I was reluctant initially to put so much descriptive stage direction in there. But with my advisors, we decided it might benefit from that to kind of help flesh out the southern aspect of the story.
When's the last time you touched information before?
Oh, no, it'll continue alike, yeah.
So it's not necessarily done.
No, the last edit was on the 15th, so 3 days ago.
And speaking of the director thing too, I feel like I love you telling us that you use the Google app, because so much of it is your voice. And I think it's because this room is full of people who love you, we can hear you so clearly, but I appreciate them fighting against that and just finding truth in the moment and in the characters, because it would be very easy in those moments where you guys are what, to just be well, how would Dan say it? You know what I mean? Because you can hear just finding the truth in it instead of how it should sound. You know?
I'm glad Connie brought that up because I was thinking about that as well. And listening for Dane in the performance. Yeah, it's good.
You mentioned, and this is all come up already, but you mentioned not thinking about staging because it's sort of more like a screenplay, but I wondered if you thought about doing casting as you're writing or as you're doing this. I didn't know these were your form teachers. I didn't know this was going to be such a autobiographical play when I didn't know you, but it's kind of interesting how much that, again, the idea of you being a director and sort of directing the play and writing it. Wondering if you had an idea of this is a stage. So, I mean, you are staging it as a reading, and you would have to do it differently on the stage, but or maybe you wouldn't. I just wonder how much did you think of who would actually perform this for you? And on the other side, if you're a director, how did you cast this? Was it just Dane's friends or mentors, or was it more? I mean, I know that wasn't the only thing, but I was kind of curious to know what went into it. Because it's such a personal thing. How do you distance yourself from that? And going forward, if this is going to be a play, it's not just about your journey, which already it is. When you learn stuff along the years that you've changed, or that I don't know.
Dane would sat in all the rehearsals and never said a word unless we had questions or clarification.
When we all looked at him and said, "Oh,
Otherwise, yeah, otherwise we left all of it to us, to interpret, to move it the way we saw it out of what he did.
I think you did a wonderful job of it.
Well, I
Well,
was
who
just
you
saying
are.
that he was very deliberate in staying out of any directorial or interpretive input. He only really spoke up for clarification.
But to push back a little bit, you have somebody who said they don't want to talk about it. So
That's
what I'm
right.
saying is, I'm just kind of curious about how much, if this was not Dane's play, how different would it have been? Or if different at all? As a process, as a...
We definitely felt like we really wanted to do the very best we could for him. We really felt both honor and
I'm
responsibility.
hoping this isn't coming across as possible. I mean,
No,
that's
not at all. It's not at all.
And we just simply reached out to Stephen and Alan and said, hey, thanks for working on this project.
We
There are a
can't
couple
find
of
anybody
roles.
else to do it.
Well, I'm curious though. I am curious, and this is not a jab or something, but really, if we're looking at the timeline and the ages,
Yeah.
you would be dad age.
Yeah.
And there would be like a 20-year-old playing your son.
But I look young.
We're all gonna keep telling ourselves that, aren't we? But I feel like, is that a direction you would go towards if you did it in the future? Or would you keep, because there's also some depth to having some life experience and casting older. So I'm curious as to.
I'm old as dirt. I'm old enough to be a dad.
Right, no, but I mean like, yeah, like taking it a stage down. I don't know, and would a 20-year-old, like, to me, that opening up to of sexuality, and like, that's a different moment when it's a younger, more vulnerable person having to say those things.
Well, I think in a situation like this, we're thinking, all right, two really good actors, Dane and Dane, right? And you do have a connection with Dane, and you want to jump in and commit to the rehearsal period and do the work. So in this setting, I think that was really important.
Yeah, I think we got two of the best actors we could possibly get.
But you are right. According to what the script says, it would be a 20-something and probably a 40.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask Michael and Pat, have you ever directed together? I know that you were both, I've been directed by each of you separately. But have y'all ever worked on a project together, and how was that process?
Well, she directs me every day.
Oh.
he's directed?
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever co-directed him.
And this was your first time to direct a new piece.
It was. Yeah. Yes.
I just want to say that the writing and the narration, that was absolutely perfect. And the reason why I'm saying that is that my mind goes back to the late 30s, early 40s, even though I wasn't there, I'm just above that. But the radio, on how the television shows, the acting took place over the radio, and you were able to accomplish all of that, then more, without the sound effects because of the writing and the narration. So it definitely put you there without having the sound effects that they used to have back in the day. Yeah, very good. Very good.
You mentioned putting in some of these stage directions because more than you thought you would to emphasize the southern, northern. How would you do that in a play differently? I mean, if you didn't have stage directions, how would you do
Yeah, I guess I was just, that was, I say that, I'll backtrack. A year ago, when I first dabbled, was just trying to write some stuff before I got into this process. That's where I was thinking, because I was coming at it from a director, not a player. I was thinking, well, as a director, I'll figure this out. I don't need to be told, right? And I also didn't want to try to be too heavy-handed as a playwright and say to the director, this is what it's got to be, because I want to give some room for interpretation. But I got over that.
I will say, just as an audience member, and especially, of course, this is a stage reading, so the stage directions do help a lot, but it did feel almost like a character. It felt like an additional character and a very important part of the story. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it.
I'm trying to think of what is southern versus northern. I mean, pops obviously is northern. Other than that, I'm not sure what would have been.
There's, I think the idea of living outside a lot, as we do in the South, with the front porch and the back deck and the, fishing right outside the back door. I think all the heart of the house, kind of everything revolves around that. So I think that's where I was going. And also, sort of like Mark Twain, I wrote a lot of dialect into the document. I think it could be done I don't know that the South is where it has to live. And I don't know that gender is entirely important. I think I would give permission to anyone to explore based on what they need to tell their audience and who their audience is. So
I think I would be really disappointed if this didn't continue on. If it didn't get performed in high schools, especially. You said it would be a great teaching tool. I'd really like to see that. But I would be personally disappointed if it didn't.
Just in terms of stage directions, I mean, as a designer, I usually ignore them. And I think that they really help, even if you're talking about doing like a full production, give a sense of the poeticness of it and of the nostalgia of the location. And so even if they're not in the future read, I think that a production team can really use those stage directions in ways that very often we don't. Because I don't want to put the table on stage right next to the door. That's not good.
Before we leave, I think we're starting to wind down a little bit. Before we leave, there are a couple of questions that Dane wanted to ask you. And one of those is, how can a play, this one for example, empower empower an audience to deal with grief? Or can a play, can theater engage an audience in a way that helps process grief?
I'll comment and say, yeah, it's really kind of funny because my parents were still alive, but they're elderly, and I'm kind of going through a grief thing at the moment. I'm kind of going through a grief, knowing that eventually something's going to happen in a short amount of time. So this is kind of a cathartic thing for me, just the time is kind of really good. My sister was here this week and said for hours talking about all of this, and so, yeah, it affects you greatly, and I think, I was going to ask you, Stephen, like, how this has affected you, thinking about, I know you well, and I know how things that you were in affect you. We talked about that in the past, and I just wonder how this might have affected you, and made you think differently, made you feel like, I think it's always hard for us to, and maybe it's a Southern thing, we always say that, it's hard for us to deal with grief, and I was raised in a family that everything's wonderful and perfect, we float along, and perfect, and so, things like this open up like emotions in me that help me deal with things that I was kind of taught not to deal with my entire life. So,
For me personally, my father, who's still living, is I pushed aside a lot of our differences and his, what I feel, lack of understanding about emotion and lack of capacity to offer support and emotion. But this really shoved it in my face and made me see really how much it means to me. Because, just hearing Alan and being in it for a few weeks, yeah, it brings it to light and it creates a sense of urgency, right? And it raises the stakes because anything can happen and all of this is left undone. So that's how it was really beneficial to me. Everything's right.
I think too, like a lot of us, even some of us, the ladies who were talking, like this age is crucial, right? So this mid-40s to early 50s age demographic that a lot of us are in right now, like this is the start of a lot of people we know dying, right? I know that sounds horrible, but like our parents are going, our loved ones are going, like our friends are going, and we are in this whirlwind of, oh shit, like this is just gonna keep going. And this is one lesson that nobody told us. Like nobody said, everybody's gonna start dying, and it's just part of life now. And so I think any time in this decade of our lives where we can find ways to process that and meet each other in those moments is vital. I just think it's vital right now. So I appreciate it from that aspect, just being willing to observe, and nothing is ever resolved. They're just sitting in it and finding vulnerability together, and I think that's the best we can do.
And I think that when theater's at its best, it affects a change, right? There's something in you that wants change. And to that end, what is happening in this audience is talking about action in individual lives. And so I think that's a success. I think that's your answer, is you're doing it.
I think one of the most enjoyable parts of our very brief rehearsal process was our first rehearsal, where we just all sat around and started talking about our fathers and all the stories, just a small group of people. And it was very moving. It was just, all of a sudden, we're just together, and all of a sudden we're sharing these stories that we connect with in some way. It was very moving.
And to answer Dane's question, does this help you deal with grief? The whole time I was thinking about things that I've dealt with, but I was also thinking about things, the grief that other people in the room, because I feel like this is a lot of people know each other. Stories, I feel like I need to go back and read this because I started going off on it totally different. you know, the grief that other people in the room have felt. And I think as an empathetic crowd, you know, thinking about, so I may have not paid attention to the whole thing, but because I was thinking about the grief that all of us have experienced in this room. So the answer is yes, not just our own grief, but the grief of the people that we love. So thank you.
And I do think that it would be, that it was very helpful. I think it will reach a masses of people. Going back to what you were saying, at our age of 50-something, it seems as though now that grief and like we're losing people much faster now than it was when we were much younger. It seems like it's coming very quickly. If it's not directly, it's people around us, so we're constantly being affected by it. But this kind of storytelling, play, or what have you, I think it covers a large mass of grieving. It's almost like a counseling, and you're getting it through the play. And I was going to ask him, as Jonathan, was where you think about going into maybe counseling. I'm thinking that with grief counseling is something that you probably could tap on, because as you said, you got some that are going into it for the money, but have someone to go into it genuinely to help, to recover, to help someone, that is something that's needed.
I took care of my mom until she passed about 12 years. And
What'd you say?
I said I took care of my mother for about 12 years. And the thing that I learned in helping her each day when there was no one else around me and her was to just take in the moment. Don't think about when is it going to be. And out of that came those 12 years where I kept saying, okay, you have something else to teach me. Okay, what do you got? What do you got? And she would say things, and I learned things about her. I would ask her questions. What's your favorite color? Those are things that I didn't know. And so the process that I learned, I took Death and Dying in undergrad school. What is it? Mary Kubler-Ross with the stages of death and everything. And so my thing that I learned is to, yes, like was said, to know that it's coming, but it could have been coming from me as well as her. She could have outlived me, but I just started not thinking about that, not focusing on that, and just enjoying the day. And if she would say something about my father, who's deceased, that he was going to come in and say something about me singing to the house, I would say, well, if he comes in, I will come back and get you. Because I'm going to leave the house temporarily if he comes back. So I made it, like we hear some of the stars say, what's his name, Jim Carrey, how he would always just make things fun with his mother. And so I just learned to do that. And then if I needed to cry, if I needed to scream, if I needed to go and have a drink, I would go out of the room and do that. But the thing was to be there for her and to help her, because we were only two in there at the time. And so, and all of that said, and the movie that I watched was called A Good Person. And the whole thing was about just coming to grips with grief and the person that had caused that grief and everything. And with dealing with my mother, I just learned so much about her and myself in that process. And so my thing was just to be there and learn.
Someone over here?
Okay, this is another one thing I'll more feedback about. Not taking on all these given our responses to it, kind of conversations with the relative age of those I would think this conversation would resonate more if it is actually a conversation between a baby boomer and Gen X, not a 20-year-old, not Gen X and a millennial or Gen Z. Because that's what it's us. It's like the 40s and 50-year-olds who are going to resonate with 70, 80-year-old parents and that. So my
All right, we'll have one more comment, and then I think we're going to have to call it a night.
Are we Dave?
Are you?
Hey, Dave, if you have any other questions, you could put it out and we could
Well,
write
you're gonna
to
get a
you.
survey.
He's got your email address.
I'll say that, I think for me, one thing I've been learning about from Pretchell is that the grief and praise part of it. So by having someone to share your grief with and not keeping it bottled up to where it becomes anger and anxiety, by sharing it with someone, that allows it to become something beautiful and become a praiseful act of music and poetry and theater and the things that make us human. So that for me is one of the largest takeaways of the process. To share, talk about it, be there for each other, listen, not be all judgmental, but just be someone to receive. And then let it blossom into the beauty and the praise for the grief, because that means we're alive.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Next time.